move on and talk sort of about what post-family name even means. Maria started to touch on it in the email blast she sent out. We do have sort of maybe a loose mission statement. I don't even know if I would call it that. But this idea of family is really central to everything we do. Family is a support network. It is your community. It's central to everything we do, whether it's collaboration or showing people's work or promoting people in the community.
And the brand extension is infinite. So that's really exciting too, as nerdy as we are.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the family room.
Neighbors.
The fridge.
The fridge, yeah.
The fridge is our ad network. Sort of like all nerding out, like, oh, what can we call the next thing?
Yeah. Does it mean anything else to you guys? I mean, is there any?
Well, the post part came from the idea of the word post has so many different meanings. A post like a public notice, as in like a poster. Post is in postmodernism, post a current model, so to speak.
Post our original family is our second family.
Yeah.
You're posting on the blog, I mean,
yeah,
it's not a deep dive, but it makes a lot of sense.
So it was this very, very lucrative word. Is that the right word? Sure. Yeah, I was going to say everyone, I get a hard time right there. Everyone you said so yeah, it was like this interesting, and it's also the Post family historically is one of the longest recorded families in history of that last name, that surname. Post is the longest recorded one in history, which was just a serendipitous thing when we were doing research on it. So it was kind of the only thing that we all agreed on. And
I always use the family thing. I always say the same thing, but I think it's really true. I think about like my actual brothers, and that we have this sort of relationship where, regardless of where we're from or what we're doing, like my little brother Leo, like I'm just gonna take care of him or support him, my little brother, just because we have the same mother and because that's what you do, you're your family, And I think the thing that's been special about us is there's other collaboratives or collectives that have very missions, directed missions. It could be a specific style art or sustainable art or something that they're combining to attack, And our mission is family. Our mission is to support each other. That's the goal. Is that if I have different background, I have different experience, I come from a different place than all these guys, and we all have our own angles and networks and everything. But if I need help screen printing, I'm going to ask Rod because he's really good at it, and he'll help me. And if Rod needs help with a website or something like that, or I'm there for him. And that's the goal. It's always been the goal. It's just to support each other as individuals to do whatever the hell we want to do, because that's going to change. And so our goal is to nurture that creativity and that growth and that individuality, but do it in a way that we can do it together.
I think it's also really important to note that we call ourselves a collaborative, and we really strongly stay away from the term collective. There's sort of this elitism and maybe a cachet associated with collective, where it is sort of inclusive, we're insular, we do what we do, we put it out there, and no one else can be a part of it. But still core to this idea of family, everyone here is extended family. The Chicago community, people reading our blog, people we are inspired by, or people who are inspired by us. It's in some way, there's a connection there. So, collaborative, as we've collaborated to form this core group and collaborated with the community to do what we've done, collective for I think a lot of us just doesn't articulate that sort of sense of inclusivity. Do you have anything? I know you're really strong on this, Chad.
I am. I don't know. I picked a weird battle on that one, I guess.
No, I love it though. I mean, it made a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you said it basically. This idea of the word collective, like you said, just seems to be a very unapproachable word to me. And as we've kind of grown, and it's the easiest way to explain what we did for a while, but as we started realizing what we were actually doing, it's collaborative seems to make more sense. So, I mean, you basically said it.
And it's as much thought as went into choosing collaborative over collective, since we still have this worldwide audience, like, that battle's pretty much meaningless to those people. But
right.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, so we couldn't have done this without collaboration. There's no way one of us could have done this on our own or without the community in general. So I guess this gets to sort of the point of the conversation we're having with you guys today is how can you use collaboration? How can everyone use collaboration here to, you know, do something that they really want to do? And what are sort of, you know, the successes that we've learned from collaborating beyond sort of the obvious? So let's talk about that.
Do we want to, does anyone have questions real quick?
Yeah.
As we go through here? And just this is super casual. Anyone could just yell, it doesn't matter. So
Did that guy Scott, did he design the Obama logo?
he did not. No, there was another company, Soul Sender. Scott did a lot of the brand extension from the original mark, picking out the typefaces, figuring out how it was going to be applied to infinite different mediums, and also realizing that a project of that scale, you can't really control the growth of the application of the logos. So he was part of the team to develop a voice around the original mark, if that makes sense.
So he kind of was like, maybe like an art director capacity kind of?
Yeah, you could say that. He definitely worked with a team of people, but he was somebody who came in right after the mark was made and was like, you know, we have this core really good logo mark. How can we expand the overall voice of this one graphic?
There was nothing beyond that at that point.
No,
right? There was
absolutely
no,
not.
I mean, there was no, you know, the aesthetic, when you think of the site, these beautiful blue gradients, the beautiful use of Gotham. I mean, that whole brand program was from that group.
And even with such a strong logo at the beginning, there were, and you should, I mean, if Scott ever comes, when he talks, and he does in Chicago from time to time, it's a really interesting presentation, but this, I mean, there were horrible just using that nice logo, there were still just horrendous executions of it. And that's what he did, was built the program around using it in a way that always works and consistent, and there would be, that's a whole other conversation.
Anybody else?
Right. When you're, sorry.
Given that you actually collaborated, is it like, how many of you were actually in that collaboration? Was it some of the idea that only like one person run with it? You kind of have like the whole like mixing and everyone's talents make that idea stronger?
Did everyone hear that in the back?
No.
No.
He was asking how many, you know, when we collaborate on a project. Is it one leader, everyone chipping in? Is everyone involved? Are 7 people always working on a core idea? What's sort of that balance?
I think I just figured out how to explain this in the past day or two.
Try to
We work extremely collaboratively in the concept stages of all of our work. Usually, once it gets through to execution, it's usually one person doing the execution, but the collaboration comes in pretty much the beginning part of any project. The brainstorming, hey, if I want to have this online hub to sell stuff and do X, Y, Z, Sam, what's the best program to do that? Rod, can you do an illustration for navigation? You know, like it's very hard because we all have our own separate client base and different things that we're doing. Most of the execution of stuff is done on an individual basis, and we're not. As much as when we do work together in execution, it is a great thing, but it's kind of difficult to pull that through all the way.
We all have really strong opinions, and they very rarely, melt. You know, that's kind of the beauty of getting to work with each other. So typically, majority wins. If you want to do something, if you get 4 people, it's pretty much going to happen. But with that being said, if somebody ever feels extremely strongly about something, we let their voice, be heard. But yeah, typically when we start, it's really conceptual, lots of conversation, and then the majority wins the decision, and then somebody sees it through. But if you're in the studio working with people, you're gonna have people come over your head and say, "That sucks, start over," or "Why don't you try this?" Or so. There's collaboration throughout the whole process, but typically there's like a leader.
Sometimes Rod will come in and just wash out a screen that you did a really poor job of burning. This is my favorite.
A little quality control, yeah.